Greetings, Eric Bakker, naturopath. Thanks for coming back. Another week. We're going to talk today, we're going to answer a few questions today, basically, different questions that we get through the YouTube channel. The first thing I'm going to talk about is what is a really good Candida cleanse broth? This is a question I get asked time to time from people. What can I take in terms of food that's going to really help to clean up my gut? It's going to eradicate a lot of junk and crap out of the gut. Well, there are many different ways you can make, soups and broths and casseroles, and you people out there are probably aware of bone broths. They're quite popular. But when I think back, my grandma used to make bone broths. My ma used to make bone broths. I've been making bone broths now since I was probably about 18. So it's funny how things that we've done for so long, people who've got ideas about health have been doing things all along. But now these things become trendy. I can't imagine not what it's like to make a broth every winter, particularly. We've made beef broth and chicken broth in my family for 50 plus years. And then you read about it, the new trend, bone broth, or the new trend, this or so. But let's talk about a different type of broth today. Let's talk about a medicinal broth, or a broth that's going to help to really clean up your gut. This isn't just applicable for Candida. This broth also contains prebiotic qualities, so it's going to help to build good levels of beneficial bacteria, and it also has antibacterial as well as antifungal properties. So there's no point just doing a Candida broth, for example. I've called this a Candida broth, but it's a lot more than that. It's going to target a whole bunch of stuff in the gut. So let's start. The basis of all good broths, in my opinion, are the allium family, meaning things like onions, especially white onions, because they tend to be the stronger ones. You've got brown onions, you've got red onions, and you've got white onions. I apologize, the brown onions, I believe, are the more powerful ones to use in the broth, with the brown skin. So I tend to use those in broths. I will use spring onions, shallots sometimes, but generally spring onions. I think, people in America call them scallions, with the long green stalks. They can have a little bit of a white bulb at the bottom. I will use generally 2 or 3 spring onions straight out the garden. I'll use 2 brown onions, and I'll use about 3 or 4 cloves of garlic. I like the allium family. They're especially good for people with Candida. They contain so many different types of compounds in them that have very cleansing and beneficial effects. Lots of different things in them. I've made some notes here out of my book. Quercetin is one of the most important flavonoids found in onion, and that inhibits a lot of enzyme systems in the body. Enzymes you don't want really revved up, like oxygenase, phospholipase. So these things produce a lot of things in the body. There's one in particular called arachidonic acid. When that gets produced too much, it can stimulate all kinds of problems in the body, redness, itching, pain, inflammation. So to downregulate that, we want to stop the production in the body of these enzymes that can push that pathway up. And quercetin is a really powerful way to do that. Now you can take quercetin in tablet form or capsule form, but it's a lot easier to absorb natural quercetin into the body from a plant than it is from a product. There's a guy in Chicago who's been studying or worked with quercetin for about 50 years and found that even though it's a flavonoid, it's hard to get into the body. So onions are great. They're very high in quercetin. They're prebiotic. They're antibacterial. They're antifungal. They taste great. And not just on burgers. They taste good in a lot of dishes. So get 2 brown onions or 3 medium ones. I would tend to leave all the crap on them. I would just chop them up in 2 or 3 and throw them in the pot. Forget about that. You might want to take the outer peel off it. You may want to give it a bit of a wash. Feel the weight of the onion. The onion's got to have a nice bit of weight about it. When you buy onions, don't buy the light ones. Pick up several onions and feel the heaviest one, the densest onion. That tends to be the best onion. Watermelons are the same. Tap them, feel them, pick a good solid one. So, 2 onions, 3 onions, a few cloves of garlic, a couple of bits of spring onion go in there. If you want, you can throw a nice deep leafy green in there to get a lot of magnesium in there, and also potassium and various other minerals. Deep leafy greens are really good for the tummy. They really help to build up very good gut health because they contain lots of different types of fibers in them, which also act as good prebiotics. They're stool bulkers, and basically it's like a vitamin tablet. So put a small bunch of chard, of the I think it's Swiss chard in there, or you can put kale in there. Some people put broccoli in there, but a deep leafy green goes in there as well. I like to put a bit of carrot and a bit of celery in there as well. To me, onion, carrot and celery, it's a bit like a Coke, fries and a sundae, if you guys are that way inclined. You know how some things go really well together? Fries and salt go well together. You know, not that we should be eating that stuff, but it goes well together. So onions and celery and carrot go well together. So those three can go into the broth. You can chuck basically any kind of vegetable in here, root vegetable particularly. Now we're also going to put about a good heaping teaspoon of sea salt in here. I like the Celtic sea salt. It's important to add salt into the diet because you've got high potassium and you want also plenty of sodium in there. And this is particularly relevant for you out there who have adrenal fatigue. You want enough sodium in your diet, not too much potassium. People with adrenal fatigue tend to pee out a lot of sodium. And that's why stressed people often hunt around for potato chips or pretzels for that reason. Now, this is the big one. We're going to put some herbs in there. Now, for people watching this video now, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, it's going to be winter time coming up. And for me, it's going to be summertime. Yay! So I'm going to do another video and I'm going to talk about the summer kind of application of the anti-candida food, which will be a candida salad. We'll do that in the next video. So I want you to get a hold of a bit of thyme. Not that a lot of people have got thyme these days. We're all thyme poor, aren't we? But this is the herb thyme, okay? Thyme. Thyme's a lovely addition in this broth. Now, thyme contains, like oregano, cavicriol, okay, eugenol, and different types of compounds in there that are antibacterial and antifungal and even antiparasitic. So thyme works on a wide range of bugs and it tastes nice. So get a little sprig of thyme and drop that into your dish. You should really grow these herbs. They're tough as boots. And sage and thyme and parsley should be three common herbs that most people should grow because they're so medicinal and they taste great. Put a sprig of thyme into your dish. And you could also, if you wanted to, put some oregano in there as well. Now that needs to be simmered. When I make these broths, I usually throw about 10 or 15 peppercorns in there. Don't put cracked pepper in, don't do it. Cracked pepper you do on other kinds of dishes. But for a broth, put the whole peppercorn in there because you're going to simmer this for a while. So the other thing is, don't use crappy water. Don't use water that's full of chlorine and bleach and all this junk in it and goodness knows what. Use really nice quality water. Get either bottled water, or use a water filter to filter the water. So you want really nice, clean, sweet-tasting water for the broth. It makes a huge difference to the flavour of the eventual broth. Now you're going to simmer this, and I want you to use a stainless steel pot, or cast iron, but stainless steel. Don't use those aluminum pots; they're junk. So just bin those, throw them away. So I've got a big stainless steel pot with a copper bottom. Everything goes in there, the water goes in there, and then I'll bring it to the boil and I'll put it on a low setting, probably for about a good 2 hours. Just let it simmer. If you want a super powerful broth, after 2 or 3 hours of low, take all the veggies out and bin them. Just throw them in the compost, and then put another lot of vegetables back in. It's a very good idea. You're going to get a super concentrated broth. Now, once you've made this up, it'll keep in the refrigerator for a few days. You can also use the liquid as a basis for stir fries or other dishes. And you can even freeze it in blocks and take it out at a later date and defrost it and warm it up. This is an excellent medicine for many different purposes for the gut. If you want to add a bit of chicken or bone in there, to get all that extra collagen and glutamine for leaky gut healing, you can do that as well. But this is antimicrobial broth, remember. That's what we're focusing on. So I would keep all the animal products out of this and just use green stuff in there. So if you have 1 good cup of this every day over winter time, it's going to go a long way towards cleaning up that digestive tract of yours from candida, and dysbiotic flora, SIBO and things like that. Give it a try. It's a really good recipe. Thanks for tuning in.